We are talking student accommodation now on Property Tribes TV, and I'm joined by one of our sponsors. It's Assetz, and I'm joined by Emma Young, who is Student Sales Manager. So welcome, Emma, to Property Tribes. Now, it's interesting to talk about the sector. Is it healthy at the moment, in your opinion?
I think it is incredibly healthy. There's two areas that investors have to look at when they're looking at investments to make sure that it's healthy, because I think what's happened in the last 10 years is there's become a little bit more media hype, and developers are certainly dangling certain carrots to attract investors to certain developments. So it's healthy, but you've got to look in the right areas. You've got to make sure that your selection criteria, again, you stick with it. So know what you're looking to buy, know the area you want to buy in, as you would do with standard property. But yeah, it's healthy. There's healthy yields out there. There's some good developer incentives, but again, you've got to know what you're buying in the right area.
There was some concern that the higher tuition fees would reduce student numbers, but that's actually not proven to be the case, has it?
No, and I'm glad you brought that point up. There was a slight dip in application numbers in the 2012 intake, but the actual numbers that were actually accepted in universities stayed the same. So we didn't actually see any dip in university numbers at all. It was just the application numbers. Since then, and more importantly this year, UCAS reported a 4% increase in student numbers. And that was an increase here in the UK as well as international as well. So we're very confident that the student numbers that are predicted to increase and continue to do so will maintain that upward trend.
Indeed. Now, there are three kind of possible routes that investors could go down. They could go down the HMO route, which is a complete strategy in itself. There's a lot of talk of these student pods, and then there's also purpose-built accommodation for students. Now, at Assetz, you have very strong views on which of those strategies is the safest and most sustainable.
Yeah, we do. From our opinion, when you look at the three different types of investments, we feel the purpose-built methodology is probably the strongest and most consistent for long-term yields, but also long-term reliability. When you're looking at student property, you are looking for a long-term investment and to buy it for strong long-term yields. So we believe with a purpose-built property, you're buying it today with today's sustainable materials. It is going to last longer. From a yield perspective, it's also hopefully going to hold up those yields because of the materials that have been used. Pods are slightly different because there is a question around the ownership part. A shared ownership. You don't own the title deed. Or there's doubt around that area, and so therefore from a long-term perspective, when you do go for resale, there is a question around that style of apartment. HMOs of course also have their own similar sorts of concerns. Licenses in some areas are being revoked, but also there's the negative connotation about investing in HMO, whether it is again a long-term sustainable investment. Yields again on HMOs may not be sustained if the licence is revoked. So there's a few questions around that we see for long term, and again I keep mentioning that, but it is important that you are, if you're going to invest in a student, you need to have some sort of certainty, and we feel purpose-built provides that.
Yes, and it's interesting that one of the trends in student accommodation is that students are demanding a high standard of accommodation. The days of the kind of young ones, communal sort of slum house are long gone, and I think the purpose-built student accommodation is really meeting those standards that particularly the overseas students are now demanding.
Yeah. It's, I think in the last 10 to 15 years, we've seen a big change in the student sector. We've seen a lot of investors, a lot of developers come into the market and start building new apartments. It has been driven, you'll see a trend in the increase in overseas numbers, and also the increase of development of these newer style apartments, and there is a trend that they're linked. It's also worked in nationally, so local students again are also, UK-based students are also interested in this slightly better style accommodation. We're talking apartments, we're talking to a certain degree shared kitchens, if not a kitchen that's actually included in the apartments. People are looking for 24-hour security, they're looking for reception areas, they're looking for mail rooms, they're looking for apartments that have got broadband, televisions, all sort of kitted out. It's driven, as I mentioned, from the overseas students. They're looking, their parents want them to feel comfortable and safe. And
yeah, of course. And if they're paying those kind of fees, then they want to make sure that their students have the best, their children have the best possible environment to study. So Emma, just to finish then, if a landlord is watching this and contemplating getting involved in student accommodation, what would be your top advice? And is there any way they can meet with Assetz and find out more about the sector?
Okay. I think when you're looking at student property, it's good for yields, for income. That's one thing to look for. There's two main risks that we advise our clients to do their due diligence on. One is the developer. So who's the developer? Can they build on time and on budget? And what experience do they have? Do you feel confident with them? The second is the management company. In my opinion, probably one of the most important parts of this. Can that management company, are they experienced? Can they manage that build for the long term with the sort of yields that you're looking to expect? Look at your normal criteria: location, university, the strong university numbers, and again, look at an exit strategy. So buy the best unit in the block, for instance. Got a strong exit strategy should you need one. If you want to learn more, then we're actually going to be in Leicester this Saturday, the 17th of May, to run a student event. There from 10 o'clock till 12:30, giving an overview of the student market and also an introduction to our event and to our property in Leicester. You can register on the website if you'd like to join us, or you can contact us on our telephone number, the business telephone number.
Fantastic. Well, we'll pop those details on the screen for everybody now, and thank you very much for sharing those insights into the student sector, Emma. It's been really great talking to you, and hope you've enjoyed this student accommodation update powered by Assetz.